All right, welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. There's just nonstop breaking news all day, every day, and President Trump's second and non-consecutive term of office, and I'm excited, and I know you guys are excited too. Oop, see, the green screen. Got to fix the green screen. Hold on. There we go. I'm so excited I didn't even set up the green screen properly. Oh, my goodness. I almost don't know where to start. Well, there was something that dropped a little while ago, which I'm going to get to in just a few moments. And there is, this has just been uncovered by someone. And I'll tell you who it is and what they uncovered in a few minutes. But a name that we've not heard in a long time is now believed to be Obama and Hillary, primarily Obama and the Bush Republicans and the Never Trumpers, spy in Trump's inner circle in the first term. And just a little clue, it's not Pence. That's not who I'm talking about. He may be a spy, but he's not the one I'm talking about. And when I tell you who this is in a few minutes, you'll be like totally blown away by it. So we're going to get into that and a whole bunch more. And if you would like to call in, you're welcome to do that. The toll-free number, if you're watching live, of course, you can call in live on the program. The toll-free number to call in is pinned in the live chat, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. So let's start going through it. I've got a few stories I want to get to, and we'll get to the big one in just a few minutes. Now, this is a story out of Georgia that I just saw a minute ago. And I got to share this with you because, you know, President Trump, we're getting our country back. You know, our country has not just been invaded, our country was being colonized by foreigners who were taking over every single aspect of the United States. And one of the great executive orders that President Trump signed was the executive order requiring America's truck drivers to speak English. And this is really an amazing thing because so many aspects of the job market, high-paying, good-paying, skilled jobs that people live and work on in their entire lives and support their families and buy houses and take a 2-week vacation every year, have been taken over by the colonists and invaders from other countries. And they don't just take jobs. The ones that are still left, they bring the wages down. And one of those is truck drivers. You know, guys that are long-haul truckers, that's a great American, honorable profession, and illegals were taking it over. Now, with the English requirement, it's opening up the job market, thanks to President Trump's executive order. And this is a local news story out of Georgia. Listen to this. 2 truck drivers in DeKalb County. They were just ticketed for not speaking English, making them some of the first in the state ticketed under President Trump's executive order reinstating an English-speaking mandate. WAFF 48's Nick Ballinger spoke to truckers here in the Valley, getting their thoughts on this order being enforced since June 25th. Nick?
Well, Margo, this mandate requiring all truck drivers to speak English has actually been on the books since the 1930s. Now, the president and
but it hasn't been enforced.
CEO of the Alabama Trucking Association tells me that guidelines from the Obama administration loosened enforcement and lowered penalties. Now, this executive order brings back that original mandate, and we're already seeing Alabama state troopers enforcing it.
This is a ticket written by a state trooper in DeKalb County against a truck driver from Texas. This one, the driver was from Florida. What they have in common, the tickets say the drivers couldn't speak English.
The English language proficiency standard has been there for a long time.
There
These
you
are
go.
some of the first tickets issued after the president's executive order reinstated enforcement and penalties in late June. Mark Colson, the president and CEO of the Alabama Trucking Association.
So it goes on. So the executive orders are in place. This is part of the America First, Make America Great Again. You know, so many of these people on the left, they ask this question and they think they're so brilliant with this question and they're just stupid. what does that mean, make America great again? When was it great? Well, it was great when you had to be either a U.S. citizen or a legal immigrant with proper work authorization paperwork from the government to get a job. And, there's all this talk this week about the job numbers and how the person in charge of the Labor Bureau statistics monkeyed around with the numbers and cooked the books and made up numbers to try to hurt Trump and lower. President Trump has every deportation is a job created, right? If it's an adult, sometimes even with children. Think about that. Every deportation is a job created. And really multiple jobs, because when they deport someone, members of their family leave oftentimes too. Now, I know some people are saying, well, these guys have only been ticketed. So what? What happens with these guys when they get ticketed is their employers find out, and their employers cannot have ticketed drivers on the road. It drives up their insurance, so it's going to drive these guys off the road. And also, it gets them on the radar of ICE. While they may not have called ICE on the scene, there will be some states where they do call ICE to the scene, and Border Patrol will arrest them on the scene, but it will cost them their jobs because the employers cannot have drivers that are out there getting tickets. And once they have somebody on their radar, that truck and that tag are going to be marked, and they're going to get stopped in other states or by other police officers in the same state, and they're going to be stopped if they continue to drive, and they will get arrested at some point and deported. They'll end up in ICE custody somewhere. So this is just amazing. What's going on? We're getting our country back. We're getting our country back. We were losing our country. If Donald Trump had not been reelected to this second and non-consecutive term, our country would have been lost. There's no getting around that. Now, Laura Loomer, the last couple days, she is really dropping some stuff on Tucker Carlson. She, here's the thing about. We know how tight she is, Laura Loomer, with President Trump. They speak regularly. She's gotten several people from the Trump administration and the bureaucracy fired. She's gotten people from the inner circle fired in this second term. And he trusts her. She's kind of, President Trump had Roy Cohn working for him when he was younger, who kind of mentored him, right? Roy Cohn, you guys familiar with that? She's kind of like his new Roy Cohn, except he's the mentor, right? And she's going after Tucker pretty hard on an issue that is near and dear to President Trump's heart. And I find it impossible to believe that Loomer is going so hardcore on Tucker Carlson without the knowledge and maybe even approval of President Trump. What do you guys think about that? Do you think she would go this hard on Tucker without talking to Trump? And the story, she gave a little more detail today. What Loomer has on Tucker is before the election, he was given the Hunter Biden laptop. Listen to this. She posted this on X, and then on her show, Loomer went into some detail about it, but I'll just read this to you. Laura Loomer writes, and I'm quoting here, I'm reading her post on X. I know for a fact that Tucker Carlson had a verified copy of the real Hunter Biden laptop. His senior producer, whose name she gives, was given a USB drive with an intelligence product. And she goes into a lot of detail. Tucker Carlson sat on the Hunter Biden laptop. That's according to Loomer. And if you think that it was Fox that put the pressure on him, I don't think so. Because if you remember, it was the New York Post that broke in the press the Hunter Biden laptop story. They posted it on X and got banned, locked out of their X. Remember that for it? So why is Laura Loomer doing this? I would say she's doing this while it's true. And if, Tucker is not MAGA, she said this for a long time. I think this is proof of it. It needs to be exposed because a lot of people who are conservative, a lot of MAGA people, trust Tucker. And if for him to have sat on that, this is what you got. Roy just gave a $5 super sticker. Thank you so much, Roy. Greatly appreciated. This is very important, okay, to know this about Tucker Carlson. We've heard of October surprises. October surprises have always been the Democrats with the Republicans. Like a couple days before the election in 2000, they dropped a story about a DUI that George W. Bush got when he was younger, and he got let go from a DUI. Remember that? Anybody remember that? It doesn't seem that big of a deal these days, but it was a big deal at the time. And the Hunter Biden laptop, not only was the October surprise dropped by the Trump campaign against Biden, to my knowledge, and if you have another example of this, I would love to hear it, because either I've forgotten or I don't know about it. The Hunter Biden laptop, because remember Mayor Giuliani got the laptop from the computer guy? The Hunter Biden laptop was the Trump campaign's October surprise. And to my knowledge, that is the only time a Republican presidential candidate has had an October surprise. Do you know of any other Republicans that dropped an October surprise like that? I think it was the first Republican October surprise. And there was an immediate panic, and the media, who tell you they're in the news business or in the business of covering up the news, they suppressed the laptop. And Tucker, according to Laura Loomer, and you know Laura Loomer is always right, Tucker Carlson sat on the laptop, and he had the laptop before the election. So that's pretty hardcore. Can we trust Tucker Carlson? Should we trust Tucker Carlson? You know, there's that audio of him when he was saying terrible things about President Trump after January 6th. Remember that on that camera? So, you know, he has a history of being on the other side, and there's a lot of things going on about him and a lot of rumors going around about him. But I just don't, to me, Trump must be ticked off at Tucker for Loomer to go. And this is not something she just came across. This is something she's known for a while. And on her show, Loomer was talking about how she has information. She sits on it sometimes because it's not the right time to release information. She waits until it's the right time, which, you know, she's got like her own files or something. I don't know. And the person that met with Tucker's executive producer and gave him the Hunter Biden laptop and a USB with it all on there and everything, she said is a friend of hers. So she's got good sourcing on it. It is accurate. And since Tucker has been listed kind of like as a friend of President Trump, I just don't think she would do this without Trump's approval. So you guys can let me know what you think. Is Trump ticked at Tucker? And I think there's a pretty solid chance that he is. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for joining. And make sure you follow and subscribe to the program. And welcome. All right. This is most definitely where MAGA comes to talk. And this is the most pro-Trump space you will find anywhere. I promise you that. Now, there's so much has been breaking today, so I'm going through some of the stuff here a little quicker than I normally would, but stuff's breaking so hard. And I'll get to the main story from the thumbnail in a few minutes. I'm almost to it. But this just dropped right before I went on the air here. I saw this. Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, she has revoked security clearances for Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Liz Cheney, and Adam Kinzinger. And they say that's just the beginning. She has other clearances that she's going to be taking away from people. And that's a pretty good thing. And I'm glad when these security clearances are taken away, it's done in such a public way. And, you know, with this grand jury that Pam Bondi has going on, Harley, $50 super chat. Well, thank you so much, Harley. Harley says, I enjoy your content. Well, thank you so much for that $50 super chat. It's greatly appreciated. This grand jury that's coming in very well could be have Hillary Clinton on the possible indictment list, because in the declassified documents that came out last week through Radcliffe, it detailed how Hillary and one of her senior aides for the Hillary Clinton campaign came up with the Russia hoax idea themselves. They just made it up at the campaign office. So it was originally Hillary's idea. So if you're indicting all these people for the coup conspiracy, you can't indict Obama because President Trump says he has presidential immunity. Hillary Clinton doesn't have presidential immunity. And I know I said this years ago. President Trump said, not that long ago, that I used to think that you don't want to indict. I let her go in my first term. She's the wife of a president. Well, we're in a different place now, and we have a lot of information now that we didn't have then. And you guys got to understand, this Obama coup wasn't just in Trump's first term; it's continued. I mean, him getting shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, is part of that coup, isn't it? And they did a lot of things in that campaign too. So this labor person that Trump fired that manipulated the jobs numbers, that's part of the Russiagate coup. All right, it's an ongoing thing and conspiracy that has never ended. So we're in a different place now. And I think Hillary Clinton should be indicted. I think she should be indicted. She should be charged, and she should be tried for her crimes. Is it treason? I don't know what it is. We'll let Pam Bondi and the lawyers figure that out. But I think it's important for as many of these people to be indicted as possible, because a message needs to be sent so that future presidents and presidential candidates don't have to go through this stuff. And for all these people that say nothing's going to happen, are you watching the news? Tulsi declassified all this information. Radcliffe declassified information. The Senate Intelligence Committee declassified information. They sent criminal referrals to Pam Bondi, and then now she has a grand jury that is being reported to be in Florida, although that's not been confirmed. John Solomon from Just the News says his sources are telling him the grand jury is probably in Florida, but they don't know for sure because grand juries are secret. So don't let anybody tell you nothing's going to happen. Nothing. Look at how much is happening. And Tulsi revoking these security clearances is a part of that, because these are some people that are on the list. Hillary, Kissinger, and Kamala are part of the coup against President Trump. And I'm going to get to the spy in a few minutes. And the spy, the Obama spy, is a Republican who very well could be someone indicted. Sorry, guys, I'm very thirsty, having some Pepsi. I'm a Pepsi guy. I like Coke too, but I like Pepsi. So let me get to this. This is the main story. This is Wayne Allen Root. And this is an article of his in the Gateway Pundit. And he believes that Jeff Sessions is a part of the Obama coup. I did post this article on my ex, Brian Craig Show. You can read the entire article by Wayne Allen Root. But Wayne Allen Root believes Jeff Sessions, who was Trump's first attorney general, was the spy at the upper level of the Trump first administration that was put in place by Obama and Hillary themselves. And it makes perfect sense because a couple of things about Jeff Sessions. Let me know by the way, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Give me a call. The number is toll-free, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you're watching. Now, I want to just tell you a couple things about Jeff Sessions. I think Wayne Allen Root is spot on the money on this. Remember, Jeff Sessions, Trump was so ticked at him. He's the one that appointed Mueller, the Mueller investigation. He made Robert Mueller the special prosecutor into the Russiagate. Remember, Trump said if he'd have told me he was going to do that, he wouldn't have been the attorney general. Well, Jeff Sessions was in the Senate before that, and he was the first. You got to remember the first primary season with President Trump was a big deal. It went on for a long time. He had how many people were running against him? 12 or more. I can't remember how many people were on the stage with President Trump in the first debate. I cannot remember. It was a lot. And there was a lot of division inside the Republican Party. Not with us, the people. We were always behind Trump. That's why he was doing so well. Someone in the chat room told me 17. Was it 17? Somebody said 16. So was it 17, including Trump? Right? It was a lot. So there was a lot of division inside the Republican establishment. A lot of people wanted that job, right? To be the nominee, run for president, And Jeff Sessions was the first major Republican to come out and endorse Trump, and he was in the Senate. So he was the first Republican senator to endorse President Trump, and he went out on the campaign trail with President Trump during that first campaign. And he was really tight, and it was a big deal because he was a senior senator. It was a big deal. And what Wayne Allen Root believes, and again, this article by Wayne Allen Root is in the Gateway Pundit today. I posted this on my X, Brian Craig Show, so you can go and read the entire article. But Wayne Allen Root believes that Sessions was sent inside through the endorsement by Obama, and probably Hillary, but Obama and Hillary. And that was the first big move that came out of the coup. And I think, as soon as I saw this article, because I'd kind of forgotten about Jeff Sessions, he wasn't around that long. And probably a lot of you have forgotten about him too, because there's so many other nasty people, and he's a Republican. But as soon as I saw this article, I read it. That's what the title is about the program today, is about Jeff Sessions. When I read this article, when I heard this and saw the headline, it just made perfect sense. And and that doesn't mean that Pence was not a spy and there weren't other informants, but Jeff Sessions, because he appointed Mueller and got the Russiagate investigation going, which was the primary thing crafted by Obama in the fake intelligence reports that he had Brennan and the others right. It just immediately snapped together. And when something makes sense to you just like that, it's usually the right answer, right? You guys agree with that? People are telling me so was it 17 in the first primary, including Trump? So he had 16 opponents, 17 with the president in the first campaign. So, yeah, I would not be surprised to see an indictment at some point of a Republican, someone like Jeff Sessions. Would you? I mean, there's a lot of Republicans that were out there betraying President Trump, right? It's even still happening today, right? What happened at Turning Point a couple weeks ago. And there's Republicans out there today. Some people even endorsed Trump this time around. Look at Marjorie Taylor Greene out there trashing Trump over Israel. Now, if you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat. I'm going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. On the line, we have Bruce. Bruce is a client of Jupiter Joe Thomas. He heard me talking with Joe Thomas about annuities and what a great deal they are, and he went in with his wife, and now he's a client. Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Brian.
So tell me about your experience with Jupiter Joe Thomas.
A fine gentleman. We sat down with Joe, and we explained everything to him, and we brought all our information, and he worked everything out great.
The cool thing about annuities is your money's never at risk. You're guaranteed a revenue stream for the rest of your life, but there's a bonus, really a signing bonus, where you can make a boatload of money before you even leave Joe Thomas's office. Can you talk a little bit about that, Bruce?
Well, that's where I was surprised when we sat down. We talked about the bonuses, and to my amazement, it was 10%, and there was even another one that's bigger.
Wow, that's amazing. So you made 10% on your money before you even got back in your car.
Yeah, it was more than that, but it was great.
Listen, guys, do what Bruce did. Give Jupiter Joe Thomas a call. You can set up a free consultation either on the phone or in the office, and Joe Thomas will put together a custom proposal just for you. His number is 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999, and online at jupiterjoe.com. All right, Bruce, thanks so much.
All right, thank you, Brian.
All right, we're back. I'm Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Okay, Jesse Waters, he had a story the other night about the coup conspiracy. 20 CIA and FBI agents confirmed that Obama and the former CIA director, Brennan, who's Muslim and speaks Arabic, fabricated the Russia hoax. So they have all kinds of witnesses backing this up. And I just have a feeling, we don't know because it's secret, but It seems to me that Brennan is most likely, if he's not the first indictment out of the Pam Bondi grand jury, he's going to be in the first group of indictments. Wouldn't you agree with that? I mean, he's right there at the top of the list. You know, Trump really hates him too, for good reason. Now, when I was talking about the truck drivers earlier and how this English-only executive order is giving truck driving jobs back to American truckers or legal immigrants, I saw this story from Savannah Hernandez. She's in Minnesota, and Minnesota, it's basically becoming I think it already is. It's a Muslim state, right? It really is. And she did a story on a local neighborhood bar. I wasn't going to share this, but then when I watched it, it's just, it's so sad. You know, I know we're all descendants of immigrants, right? But our ancestors, our immigrant grandparents, great-grandparents, great, however many greats are in there, our ancestors came to America and became Americans, right? They became Americans. They didn't stay like they were in the country that they were escaping from. It's called Americanized, you know, is one of the words, but they didn't come over here and all of a sudden it's Italy or England or France or Germany. Now that doesn't mean that, you know, people don't get together and have Oktoberfest. It doesn't mean people don't get together and have a Greek festival. Those are all fun and everything, and we enjoy that, you know, and everybody enjoys that kind of stuff. But they're Americans. This new wave of immigrants, in particular the Muslim immigrants, but this new wave of immigrants, they don't become Americans at all. They're bringing the third world here. And everything I see out of Minnesota, it's like Minnesota's like, I'm going to play a little bit of this. This is Savannah Hernandez. You guys ever seen her? She works with Turning Point. She's very good. And she did a story on this bar that's closing down in Muslim Minnesota.
This is Savannah Hernandez in the Cedar Riverside area of Minneapolis, and I wanted to come to Minnesota to highlight the cultural and demographic change of the state that houses the largest Somali population in the U.S. Now, I'm currently standing in front of Palmer's Bar because this bar has been here for 119 years, and they are set to close down in September after living through the Prohibition, outliving 2 world wars, and the Great Depression. They're going to be closing down because
think about
the owners state that not only is the current economic condition taking a toll on the bar, but also the culture surrounding drinking in this area has changed so substantially that they're losing $10,000 to $30,000 every single month. Okay,
so here you got a bar that's been around for almost 120 years, survived the Great Depression and Prohibition. I mean, how does a bar survive Prohibition and the Depression? And now it's closing down. Why? You know, and this gets back to the Obama coup because, you know, we know what they did because the documents show what Obama did, what all of them did. But we don't really know why. We could speculate. Now, with Hillary, this was the second time she lost the presidency. Obama took her first round and she lost to Trump. Remember, the coup started when... the coup is really vindictiveness because President Trump was president-elect when he planned the coup. So it was a done deal. Hillary had already lost. So Hillary she's just a bitter old hag who lost the election and she just wants revenge. And their plan was with Sessions to the Mueller investigation to lead to the resignation of President Trump and make Pence the president. That was their goal. They wanted to unseat President Trump. They were trying to do to him what they did to Nixon. Okay? And that's what Hillary's motivation was. Just pissed off vindictiveness because she viewed him as costing her presidency. Obama, we don't know though, right? Why did Obama do this? Some say just ego, couldn't handle losing power. I think it was 2 things with Obama. Based on what we know now, and when these trials start and we start getting indictments from the Bondi grand jury, we might get some more reasoning. But there's 2 things that Trump did that I think were the main things that really ticked off Obama. One was the birth certificate discussion. Remember, he got Obama to produce the birth certificate with Joe Arpaio. That was a big thing. But the Muslim ban was the second. President Trump was running on a Muslim ban. He talked about it a lot in the rallies and in the debates in that first campaign, right? Remember that? And the Muslim ban that's what Obama was doing that. He was bringing them all here, unchecked, unvetted. And that's why Minnesota is in the state that Savannah Hernandez is reporting on. So I'm thinking that Obama's motivation was some revenge for the one thing, but he didn't want President Trump to be able to stop the Muslim ban. But get back to this, see what else she has to say on this story. It's just a sad story.
Bar, but also the culture surrounding drinking in this area has changed so substantially that they're losing $10,000 to $30,000 every single month. Now, this is not the only bar on this strip of land that is closed down, by the way. 3 other bars have closed down in the last 13 years, as well as an iconic punk rock venue. Now, that venue, which locals had previously stated was a staple in Minneapolis for up-and-coming punk rock bands, that closed down and has since been turned into an African restaurant.
Oh my
and
goodness.
This bar has been bought out by the mosque that is next door to it. It is the oldest Somali mosque in Minneapolis, by the way. They have bought this area, and they are now going to be combining it with their mosque and turning it into a community center.
See what I'm talking about colonization? We're being colonized in this country. This is it's insanity. And we are, in many ways, our entire country would have been lost without Trump coming back. But this is not immigration. This is colonization. And that's something that you don't want to happen in your country, or you're going to lose your country. And we can't lose our country over this. But we're not now. We've been saved by President Trump. Welcome. If you're new to the program, by the way, make sure you subscribe. Click that notification bell. My name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. If you're on hold, stand by. I have some stories I want to get to that I haven't gotten to yet. This was really cool. To my knowledge, President Trump is the first president of the United States to walk on the roof of the White House. Did you see this today? Play a little bit of it.
Anything I do is financed by me, so you know where it's contributed. Just like my salary is contributed, but nobody ever mentions that.
This was pretty cool. So you notice every time you see anyone outside the White House, this time it's the president on the roof, but anytime you see someone live at the White House, you hear police sirens in the background. I mean, my goodness, it's like nonstop crime in Washington, D.C. here. But he's on the roof of the White House. He's a builder by trade. You guys know this. And he's out there surveying it because they're going to build this new ballroom, which is going to be kind of maybe a replica of the one at Mar-a-Lago. It's going to cost $200 million, and he's paying for it with his own money. And him paying for it with his own money is pretty awesome. When has a president paid for anything out of their own pocket at the White House to do something like this? And it's going to accomplish a few things. One, it'll get it done in record time, right? If he did this through federal funding, the bureaucrats would find a way to hold it up. But since he's paying for it with his own money, $200 million, that is going to, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes in under budget, that it's going to get done, and it's going to get done at warp speed. But the other thing is, this is going to be a new part of the White House that he built. You know, Teddy Roosevelt built the Oval Office in the West Wing, right? And he'll always have credit for that, and everybody knows that. So I got the Roosevelt Room and all that stuff, you know. And President Trump is always going to have this beautiful ballroom that he built with his own money, and it's going to be very historic because he's the only president to use his own money to build an extension at the White House. No one has done that, and this is a beautiful thing. Dallas just subscribed to the channel. Welcome, Dallas. Thanks so much for subscribing. This is, it's never been done before. So there'll be a historical significance to President Trump having this fantastic room. You know, the next time, God help us, the next time there's a Democrat, though, in the White House, they probably won't use the room. They'll refuse to use it out of protest. but he's also going to name it. And I don't know what he's going to name it. Is he going to name it after himself? Is he going to name it after Melania? Is he going to name it after his mom? I don't know. But he's also going to get to name it. And he may name it after himself. Who knows? But it's a pretty cool thing, and it will leave a lasting legacy for President Trump beyond everything that he's doing, which is perfect and beautiful, of course. And to get out there on the roof like that, that's amazing for him to do. And have kind of a little bit of a press conference. Here we are again.
President Trump is on the roof of the White House. He's taking questions.
Oh,
my
my goodness.
Just a few moments ago.
It's crazy.
Let's listen in, please.
You're looking good, Peter.
Are you going to build up there?
Let's see more sirens.
What does that mean?
What do you? More ways to spend my money.
Can you give us another hint?
Well,
man.
that will show you. It's just another way to spend my money for the country.
Yeah, that's right. He's
Trump
He's spending his own money. I love this. This is so freaking cool.
Mr. President, what are you doing up there?
Come down and talk to us.
What are you doing up there?
What are you building?
What an idiot. The ballroom.
Are you considering more renovations, sir?
More sirens.
Are you going to build up
Aye,
there?
sir.
That's
Mr. President-
that's as cool as it gets, isn't it? When have you ever seen a president do anything like this?
There's no Trump like construction Trump, Jillian, and he is up on the roof. Building surveyor Trump is the best Trump, I always say, and there he is in his element. There's no...
Yeah. I mean, how can you not be excited about this? I mean, this is just great. You know, that's why, you want Trump's presidency to go by so slow because you want to enjoy and savor every single second of it. Now, he gave an interview today, President Trump, and he brought up the pharmaceuticals. I want to play some of this because this is really important. You know, like with so many other things, the United States is subsidizing medications worldwide. You know, you go to other countries, medications are free or they cost pennies, and here they cost like a weekly paycheck. And the reason they're so high here is because they make their money off of overcharging us so they can give them away to the world for next to nothing. And the reason they do that, sometimes in developing nations, they just do it. But in first world nations, like in the UK and others, they pay very little for prescriptions. And the reason they pay very little for prescription medications is because the governments in these countries regulate the pharmaceutical prices. But when we had the shutdowns and lockdowns, and there was a supply chain shortage, while we all were, panicked about toilet paper, a lot of people, for good reason, were panicked about the medications because there are so many of them, like all the antibiotics made in China. And what a national security risk that is, having all of our life-saving medications, or at least most of them, or a huge chunk of them, made in China, which is an enemy of ours. It's a national security issue. And President Trump, he's not going to put up with that. So he has Dr. Oz, of course, making the pharmaceutical companies lower the prices, which is a lot of work for Dr. Oz. It's a lot of responsibility. But President Trump gave this interview today, talked a little bit about part of his new plan.
Look, I did something with Switzerland the other day. I spoke to their prime minister. The woman was nice, but she didn't want to listen. And they paid essentially no tariffs. And I said, we have a $41 billion deficit with you, madam.
Switzerland.
I didn't know her. I said, we have a $41 billion deficit, and you want to pay 1% tariffs. You wanted 1%.
It's crazy.
I said, you're not going to pay 1%. We lose, because I view deficit as loss. You have some people, by the way, I think
pharmaceuticals are a big issue with Switzerland. I think
well, I'll go into pharmaceuticals. Yeah. They make a fortune with pharmaceuticals, and they make our pharmaceuticals in China and Ireland and everything else. And within the next week or so, we're going to be announcing tariffs on specifically. This is a separate class than the 15% tariffs on sort of everything. These are excluded classes, I call them. I like to call them excluded, like steel, aluminum, etc.
Right, the
well,
232.
We're going to be announcing on semiconductors and chips, which is a separate category, because we want them made in the United States. And by the way, they're being made in the United States. We have The biggest in the world, as you know, from Taiwan is coming over and spending $300 billion in Arizona, building the biggest plant in the world for chips and
Okay, so he's talking about, so he's going to start moving he's moving a lot of things back to the United States, but moving pharmaceuticals here. I mean, how many of you during the shutdown period were nervous that so many medications are made in China? You can't trust China as far as you can throw them. Now, I'm going to take a quick break, and then when we get back, there's more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I was telling Steve Kane this morning that come August, it'll be 3 years since Dr. Philip Appleton rid me of pain for the first time. It was in my knee. And my knee had been hurting me since I was 21 years old. So it had been 30 years of suffering. And sometimes my knee would act up. It was my right knee. It would act up so much, I just wanted to sit down and go to sleep, because the pain was so bad. And Dr. Appleton treated me, and I know it was 3 years ago because I remember a salesman from the radio station took me to meet Dr. Appleton. And I told Dr. Appleton about my knee. I got that free consultation that you can take advantage of too, the free consultation with Dr. Appleton. And he treated me with the laser treatment on my knee, which is 100% painless. There's no shots, no injections, no downtime. In fact, not only is it completely painless, you don't even feel it when it's happening. So that was on Thursday. The next day I woke up on Friday and my knee was already improving. I went for a second treatment on Saturday. First treatment Thursday, second treatment on Saturday, and then Monday the pain was gone. And 3 years coming in August, the pain has not returned because the laser treatment doesn't just rid you of pain, it repairs the damage that's causing the pain. It's amazing. It works. And he's rid me of pain 6 times after that for a total of 7, Dr. Appleton. We have listeners that travel literally from all over the United States to see Dr. Appleton. He is incredible. The laser treatment works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. Arthritis, which, by the way, he rid me of arthritis in my hand, bursitis, work and sports injuries, strains and sprains, repetitive motion injuries, post-surgical swelling, neck and back injuries, knee conditions, tinnitus, sciatica, spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia, plantar fasciitis, which I understand is incredibly painful, rotary tears, herniated disc, acute pain, chronic pain, and any type of pain you've ever heard of. Because I keep meeting listeners all the time with new pains I never heard of, and they're now living pain-free thanks to Dr. Appleton. Give him a call. Now, remember, appointments are not necessary. Walk-ins are welcome, even on Saturdays. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. All right, we're back. I'm Brian, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. I'm having some, those of you that are calling, the lines got cleared. I was looking during the break. There's a technical issue with the phone, so I'm not able to take the calls right now. So I was just looking at that because I had a full board of calls, and I was about to go to the calls after the break, and then the whole line got cleared out, and I checked, and there's just some reset going on. All phones now are done online. So, sometimes your internet goes down. Well, that's kind of what has happened here. So I apologize for that, and if they are, when they get up and running again, if it's during the stream, we'll definitely know about it. Now, I wanted to pull this up because everyone's talking about this, and this is a big story. And when this dropped earlier today, of course, things really started blowing up. And that's these new subpoenas involving the Epstein case. This is amazing. House Republicans have subpoenaed nearly a dozen former federal officials and politicians, including Bill and Hillary Clinton, as well as records from the Department of Justice on Tuesday into the Epstein probe that's going on. The officials, including Comey, former FBI director, Robert Mueller, as well as 6 ex-U.S. attorney generals were compelled to testify before the House Oversight Committee. The Oversight Chairman Comer announced the move, and it goes on. And there's also the Trump administration is talking about releasing the Maxwell tapes from that interview last week that they did. And, these Democrats have been pushing so hard on this Epstein distraction. This Epstein stuff came out as a distraction to this grand jury. You know, Tulsi Gabbard, there are a lot of people that work in these intelligence agencies that are still loyal to the Obama people, right? The Brennans and such. So the people in the Obama coup conspiracy circle, they've known for quite some time that this was going to happen. Okay, they knew this was going to happen. The declassification, the criminal referrals, and a grand jury, and they used their old deep state tricks of disinformation, distractions. They dropped this very old story, the Epstein story, to get a dialogue going apart from what they were going to be facing. Okay, so they made a big deal about it, and so what's that resulted in? It's resulted in now it's really being looked into by President Trump and Bondi, by the Republicans in the House, and they're looking into the top people that they're bringing in. And they already have a schedule for some of them to come in. Let me pull this up. I saw this schedule earlier. The House Oversight Committee is compelling the following individuals to appear for depositions through subpoenas. Hillary Clinton, October 9th. President Clinton is scheduled for October 14th. Merrick Garland, oh, he's a beaut. Merrick Garland scheduled for October 2nd. James Comey, October 7th. Barr, piece of work, covered up all the Durham findings. He's scheduled for August 18th. So he's the first. Alberto Gonzales, I forgot about him. He was Attorney General a long time ago. He's scheduled for August 26th. Jeff Sessions, who we were talking about earlier, scheduled for August 28th. Robert Mueller, scheduled for September 2nd. Loretta Lynch, another Attorney General, scheduled for September 9th. And lowlife Eric Holder, scheduled for September 30th. So this is, don't let anyone tell you nothing is going to happen and a lot is happening. And it's happening all around us. And I think some people, because the Democrats, they say nothing's happening because they want to downplay it. But a lot of conservatives, people I see around, they're like, oh, no, now that things are happening, they're so shocked that it is happening, it hasn't soaked in yet. A lot of things are happening, and these are not processes that have to be started. These are processes that you have to go out of your way to start. This, the grand jury, and that results in all kinds of things. And then we got Paulina Luna. She had a big update today on those burn bags, the Kash Patel fact. This is also in the Gateway Pundit. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna confirms the burn bags found by Kash Patel's FBI contain Jeffrey Epstein evidence. The FBI is now under investigation for destroying critical documents. See, I would suspect that they ran out of time on those last burn bags, but now they were burning Jeffrey Epstein evidence. Why was the Chris Wray Biden FBI, or the Obama FBI, really, if you want to look at who was running things, the Otto Penn administration, why were they burning Epstein evidence? Right? Remember what President Trump said? That they'd been doctoring that evidence. So there's all kinds. Everything is happening. It is beautiful. Enjoy it. And you got to be a little patient. I was losing a lot of patience, guys, okay, myself. You heard me talk quite a bit about Bondi and Kash Patel and others, and I was upset that they weren't moving fast enough. But they actually were moving. They were doing a lot of things behind the scenes, and they're going to a grand jury with very evil and influential people. So, and they got to do everything by the letter of the law, dot all the I's, cross all the T's, and make sure everything is done just right for maximum effect so far as prosecutions go. And they're doing it. So this is a time to celebrate. I don't know what's going to happen. It's happening. And you know what? It's pretty darn cool it's happening, isn't it? I know it's hard to believe. I was when I heard the story, when it first dropped yesterday, I talked about it quite a bit on my podcast. And I was in shock that it happened. I was old enough. I was like, what? Right out of the blue. And as much as I would like Pam Bondi to have a press conference and talk about it and everything, it's probably smart that she's not. the people in the Trump administration aren't showboating. They're doing things like you're supposed to, right? They're not out there showboating all the time. Now, another thing I want to talk about is what's going on in Texas. This thing in Texas is, by the way, this shirt was sent to me by a listener last week from the radio station. I think this is my first time wearing it. I wore it this morning as well on the stream this morning. I usually will change my shirt during the day, but I like this shirt so much, I wore it all day and on the second stream today. And the president looks really good. The artwork on this T-shirt, the president looks great, doesn't he? On the screen, he does. He looks good. He always looks good. But this is a great shirt. And to the person that sent it to me, thank you again. What's going on in Texas with the redistricting? This is so amazing. Okay. Now they're going to come back on Friday to do it again. Greg Abbott has issued and signed the arrest warrants on these Democrats. And they have enlisted Kash Patel, the FBI director, to track them down and bring them back to the state house because it involves crossing state lines. He doesn't have, the governor doesn't have authority outside of Texas. Texas Rangers can't go to Illinois. And they've located them, and they're going to bring them back and make them be there so they have a quorum. And what's going on in Texas, we're going to see this happening in a lot of states. There was a lot of talk a month or two ago. Ron DeSantis was talking about this. Brian Glenn, who's Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, he's also a White House correspondent, has talked to the president about this, about having a new census. And that's a pretty big undertaking. But what we're going to see, and we're seeing it in Texas right now, is these early redistricting things that are going on. And I saw Ken Paxton from Texas interview today because I saw this on Fox earlier today with Ken Paxton. And some people are saying, oh, you're only supposed to do this every 10 years. It's wrong to do this. It causes chaos. And Ken Paxton was talking about there's been so much in the last 5 years. There's been so much migration, in large part from California, but so many people have fled to Texas and other states too, like Florida. But Paxton was talking about Texas. So many people have moved to Texas that these congressional districts we have just don't make sense. So we've got to redraw new districts. And I think, well, that's true. I agree with him about that. And we're going to see other states do it. But I think that the main reason they did this was to district Jasmine Crockett out of her congressional term. Because Jasmine Crockett, as of now, she has no seat in Congress. This new redistricting they're doing will take out her district. And she's a very poisoned person. She's made AOC look, insignificant, which is a good thing. But she's been rising and rising and rising, and this is a pretty clever way. But you're going to see other states do. I wouldn't be surprised if we do this in Florida. And this is the first time with this redistricting in Texas that I've seen Republicans, outside of Trump's orbit, that I've seen Republicans actually stand up to these Democrats. Democrats are always bullying people, calling them names, talking about racism and stuff. And in the past, Republicans cave and give them what they want every time. And then they even get more than they wanted. And the Democrats end up winning everything. And the Democrats, they have no juice, they have no power, and the Republicans aren't bending to them, and they're standing up to them, and they don't know how to handle it. And they're doing more destruction to themselves. I wanted to play this. This is so bizarre. This is Jasmine Crockett with another congresswoman who I've never heard of before.
So, I am Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, but I am standing here with one of my faves right here, honey. Yes. Listen, and guess what? Neither one of us are in Texas. You know why? Because we know that it is time to stand up, rise up, and fight back against these fools that think that we're weak. One thing that they should know, when it comes to a black woman and a Latina,
that's right,
they're about to get a little spice, okay? And that's exactly what they got. So right now we are fighting for our rights in this country. We are fighting for democracy, and I just want y'all to know that I'm standing 10 toes.
See now, I'll go back to this. By the way, what's with all this ghetto talk? Is this how members of the United States House of Representatives spoke publicly when you were growing up? Not me. This trash talk in here. And Democrats think democracy only exists if they win. Pretty arrogant, huh? If they're losing, if they're not in power, if they're not getting their way as tyrants, there's no democracy. But then she gets into some slang.
So right now we are fighting for our rights in this country. We are fighting for democracy. And I just want y'all to know that I'm standing 10 toes down.
I've never heard that. Have you ever heard that expression before? I'm standing 10 toes down. Last thing I want to see is Jasmine Crockett's feet. I don't want to see her feet. I don't want to see her toes. Golly. What kind of expression is that? Is that a common expression? I don't know. I've not heard that one before.
We are fighting for democracy, and I just want y'all to know that I'm standing 10 toes down with my homie, the representative from the great state of Texas.
That's right.
Yes.
I love Jasmine. She is a colleague of ours, a badass. When we were in session in the Texas Ledge doing
when we were in session in the Texas Ledge. What do they think? There's some hip-hop team? Is this Salt and Pepper or something back together? I don't know. What's with all this attempt to be hip slang that they're throwing? I'm 10 toes down when we were in the ledge together. You know, these two are so fake. I wish they would just be themselves. Let me go back and we'll play the rest.
State of Texas.
That's right.
Yes.
I love Jasmine. She is a colleague of ours, a badass. When we were in session in the Texas Ledge, doing the same thing and kicking ass in Congress.
Yes, we were.
So thank you so much, everybody, and we are going to continue to fight for Texas working families.
Oh, yeah, really? What are they doing for Texas working families? And again, every time I see Jasmine Crockett, she's packed on a few pounds. If you're new to my channel, again, my name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe, and hopefully the internet phone system will be up and running in the morning, or it'll be a call list tomorrow. But I don't know what's going on with the phones. They just clicked on again and then they went out again. So they've been clicking in and out while I've been on the stream here. But we'll get them back up and running. I'm sure. It just happens sometimes. So those of you that have been calling. And those of you that were on hold and got disconnected, my apologies, but call me next time, all right? Again, make sure you subscribe. My name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.